This may look like a standard Ford Focus hatchback. It even kind of tastes like a standard Ford Focus hatchback. But if I were to hop behind the wheel and fire it up right now, you'd realize that it doesn't sound anything like a regular Ford Focus hatchback. And that's because this is the 2015 Ford Focus Electric, and it doesn't use a single lick of gas. Let's hop behind the wheel and check the tech. Now here in the cabin, you've got pretty much standard fare Ford Focus interior. You've got the My Ford Touch infotainment system here, and you can check out our previous reviews of the standard Focus to see our sort of so-so feelings about that. But over here, you've got a very interesting My Ford Touch instrument cluster. On one side, you've got a mirror of your infotainment data, and on the other side, you've got a variety of tools that are going to help you to mine the car's battery life and range. You have a bunch of different views that you kind of scroll through using this D-pad on the steering wheel, and that's going to let you see things like your historical data and how much battery life you have left. All of these systems are going to be built around what Ford calls a range budget. And that's at the beginning of every trip, the computer is going to evaluate your range and give you an idea of how much range you can expect to get. And as you drive and turn on the climate control system or step on the throttle a little too much, it's going to add or subtract from that range to let you know how good you're doing. Now when you plug the Ford Focus Electric into the wall using its charging port right there on the front fender, that electricity is going to come into the onboard charger where it's going to be converted and then sent back into the trunk to a 23 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery pack where it's going to be stored. That process is going to take anywhere between 3.6 hours and 20 hours depending on whether you use a 240 volt fast charger or just plug it into the wall in your garage. Now when you're ready to hit the road, the Focus's 107 kilowatt electric motor, which is underneath the onboard charger, is going to pull that power from the battery pack and put about 143 horsepower to the road and about 184 pound-feet of torque. You're good for about 81 miles according to the EPA if you drive it with a nice light foot. Now, as is the case with most electric vehicles, mat the pedal on this thing and you'll find that it takes off with a lot more gusto than you'd think a wimpy green eco car probably should. And that's because electric vehicles deliver all of their torque instantaneously. There's no winding up to maximum torque at 4,500 RPM like you have in a gasoline engine. It's all there, all immediately. Of course, you won't want to do a lot of pedal matting in this vehicle if you want to get anywhere near the 81 miles prescribed range by the EPA. Now, there are a lot of advantages to driving an EV. I mean, it's a green car. There's a lot of torque, but there are a couple of compromises that come along with it. In the back of your head are always kind of keeping an eye on the range and looking for places that you can potentially charge the vehicle. And then, of course, paying attention to a lot of auxiliary systems that are going to have an impact on the range that may not affect a gasoline vehicle. I mean, I've never paid attention to what I set my climate controls to before I got into an EV, and I saw that turning the air conditioning on takes about a 5-mile hit off your estimated range. Now, I think part of the appeal of the 2015 Ford Focus Electric is, well, that it doesn't draw a lot of attention to itself. It looks like a regular hatchback. Aside from the smaller grille and this charging port right here, no one's going to be able to tell that you're saving the world 1 gallon of gas at a time. And I kind of like flying under the radar in that way. The other thing I like is the price, and it's easy to price this 2015 Ford Focus Electric because there are no options. $29,170 gets you out the door, but there are thousands of dollars in tax incentives